My question's for Joel. Although I wouldn't mind if Leighton wants to touch on it. So, as a preliminary question first, you would agree that Leighton's regenerate, he's a brother in Christ?
Yeah.
Okay. And I safely assume so. Okay. So that being said, given that you need to work, that the natural man can't understand the things of the spirit, and you need to be regenerated in order to have faith. So there's a work of God that's needed for these things. But my question is that if Leighton is regenerate and yet still does not understand the things of the spirit as you do, assuming that your position is true, and that he does not have the faith, the trust, the confidence, pistis in the attributes of God as you do, then how would you explain this? Was he like spiritually dropped on his head as a baby, or is there a spiritual defect in his regeneration? And whatever the answer is, who are we to say why God has regenerated Leighton in this spiritually defective way?
So first question, there's a couple questions here, but first was, is he spiritually defective or
I think this goes back to the question that I just asked, right? Is there something wrong with us? Is there something deficient that we've got?
If he wants to be consistent, he has to say yes. He has to say that at the very least, he has been given more than we have. Otherwise, he has to affirm libertarian free will. So now maybe he does. Right. Maybe right now he affirms libertarian free will like he kind of did at the beginning when he said we all have different presuppositions. That's libertarian free will. The fact that we've come up with our own presuppositions and whatever. So I that question is so amazing because it gets to what we were talking about where it just leads to a Gnostic view of knowledge, that knowledge is zapped and you either have the special stuff or you don't. You either have the special goggles or the special, you're drinking the Kool-Aid or you're not. And he's just directly Eric Hernandez. All right. It's just such a well-crafted question because you and I know how if you slip even a little bit and give an educated, well-read, well-studied Calvinist just one slip of one term, they'll grab onto that term and never answer your question. And that question was so well crafted that I don't see how Joel
it's couched in his own worldview. Like,
yes.
Let's see what he says. I forget what he said.
Okay.
Dropped on his head. The answer is yes, as far as I can tell. No.
I gave you that cowboy shirt and everything. Come on.
Okay. People in my church are probably laughing because I said I don't watch football anymore because it's too woke. I've never watched football. I'm just not a sports guy, but God bless you. I'll give it to somebody. I think that they're spiritually discerned. 1 Corinthians 2:14. I don't think that means that upon regeneration that everybody has perfect theology. I don't think that means every spiritual thing can be discerned or will be discerned upon the moment of regeneration. I think it's
wasn't his question.
It's some key pieces like salvific things. These things are going to be discerned at the point of that you need to be regenerate, you need to be alive. So got it somewhere. But 1 Corinthians 2:14. If somebody wants to find it or quote it, feel free to read it.
And while you're looking, if I can maybe just rephrase my question to what work of God does Leighton need to believe as you do, assuming that if he's wrong and you're right?
Well, it's not a specific work. That's a great question. So the natural man, here it is, 1 Corinthians 2:14. The natural man does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him. So I take that to mean like the natural man in the flesh doesn't accept anything. So like as Leighton said, and I would agree with this. There's a lot of places where
he's not answering the question. He's wiggling out.
Hold on, let's see what happened.
We overlapped tonight. So there's no way I could listen to what Leighton has said tonight. I don't know him very well at a personal level, but I've watched.
No, don't, because you know that the spiritual things are spiritually discerned, and the only way that the spiritually discerned, if the Spirit gives it to him, you can't back out of it now. That's what you just quoted and said. I don't know the guy, but you know the nature of spiritual wisdom.
Yeah. It's spiritually discerned. We have the Spirit.
It's spiritually discerned, Joel. Be consistent.
Yeah. What does he finish? Hold on. Let's see what he says.
All right. I'm sorry. Which I don't have a lot of people to choose from because you're the provisionist guy. So he's like, you read one Calvinist. I feel like I know there are nuances, but he doesn't necessarily have to study up on the Joel Webbon position. I don't have one, but I had to study up. So here's the deal. So I listen to a lot of Leighton, and as far as I can tell, the natural man does not accept the things of the Spirit of God. He accepts a lot of things of the Spirit of God. I also have been really careful with semi-Pelagianism and Pelagianism because I know that there are Calvinists on my side who have accused Leighton. So I'd like to go publicly on record saying this. If we take things out of context, and not only taking out of context, sometimes we make a mistake. And if we go back and we realize
he gets a big double thumbs up for dropping the pejorative labels. I just want to say that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. That is way more above and beyond the call of duty.
So much more
than what other Calvinists would do. Sharing the stage with him, knowing the flack he's going to get for sharing the stage with him and saying this. Yeah, he's gonna get if he has any online presence at all or cares at all about any of that, which he may not because he may be a more mature person than we are. He's gonna get wrecked for saying this, and good for him for saying it and dropping it. It's way above the Call of Duty what most Calvinists would do, but he still hasn't answered the question.
No, he hasn't.
And it doesn't mean, oh, and now from here on out, I'm regenerate. No, what it means is like, number one, sometimes we can be taken out of context. Our opponents aren't fair. Number two, we're fallible and finite. We're words of many sins, not absent. And so I think that there are times where Leighton has said something in the videos that I've watched that have sounded semi-Pelagian or perhaps even Pelagian. There are things that I've said that probably sound hyper-Calvinist. And every Calvinist that I know. That's because it's either being taken out of context, it's unfair from the opponent's standpoint, or it's because it was just a mishap. We just said something wrong because we're finite and fallible. But as far as I can tell, anytime Leighton's pressed, he's not semi-Pelagian because he believes the initiator is God. It's the gospel coming to man first. And he's certainly not Pelagian because he affirms soul depravity.
I mean, this is really, really nice. And I'm so happy for this.
Yeah. He's being gracious to Leighton and affirming his orthodoxy, if you will.
Absolutely dodging this question.
Innocent sin, all those kinds of things. Leighton is orthodox, so he is regenerate, so he has accepted the things of the Spirit of God. I just don't think those things are exhaustive. I don't think it's all the things of God. Does that make sense? And as far as what work of God you're saying is necessary?
No. Here
it is. This is the answer.
Work of sanctification by the Spirit working in conjunction with the Word. That's how we all grow. It's a
So
growing in knowledge.
He believes that what he needs, he said, rewind it. I don't want to misquote him. Play it again. And I think this is consistent.
It's because it's just we just said something wrong because we're finite and fallible. But as far as I can tell, anytime Leighton's pressed, he's not semi-Pelagian because he believes the initiator is God. It's the gospel coming to man first. And he's certainly not Pelagian because he affirms soul depravity, deadness and sin, and all those kinds of things. Leighton is orthodox, so he is regenerate, so he's accepted the things of the Spirit of God. I just don't think those things are exhaustive. I don't think it's all the things of God. Does that make sense? And as far as what work of God you're saying is necessary, I think it's just the continued work of sanctification by the Spirit working in conjunction with the Word. That's how we all grow. It's a progressive
So he
work,
needs
knowledge and understanding of the Word of God.
What Brother Leighton and you and I, Eric, need is continued sanctification by the Spirit through the Word of God. So it's either that God has chosen to not sanctify us to this level, or because we don't know the Scriptures. Because he said sanctification through the Word. So it's either that we're engaging with the Word and God's not sanctifying us up to the level of believing the doctrines of grace and tulip, or it's that we're not really engaging. It's that we're ignorant of the Word. And I think that Brother Joel would say here, he would say, we're reading the same Bible. They're not ignorant. They just see these things differently. So it must be that we're just not as sanctified. And I don't like, that's what he said, right, Eric? I mean,
that's what he said.
I'm not being mean or misrepresenting him. And maybe this is another taking out of context. Maybe he can qualify on this later, but that seems to be what he said.
That's what he said. And it's the common thing that I see where correct knowledge equals sanctification, where knowledge, equals spiritual growth. And that leads to, if your Reformed teacher hero is just objectively a bad person, objectively bad, behaving badly, well, I can't see that because he's correct.
Right.
And you must be a bad person because you're incorrect.
Paul said, knowledge puffs up. Knowledge makes arrogant, but love builds up. It edifies. It, supports. So
he separates those
two. Knowledge is not, ladies and gentlemen, just because you have good theology or believe the right things does not make you a mature, fruitful follower of Jesus. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And I know that that's not what, like Brother Joel, he wouldn't say it that way, but I just want to put that out there. That's all I want to say.
He wouldn't say it that way, but that's what he said. Because the other alternative is that Leighton is missing a special work of the Spirit that Joel has. And Joel is trying to be as charitable as possible.
That is what he said, though, right? Because sanctification is a work of the Spirit.
Okay, but Leighton can gain it. The other one, whether or not he gains it, is up to the Spirit.
Right. Sure.
So he's trying to
One
be as
is putting
charitable
the
as possible.
locus in Leighton, and the other is putting the
Right.
locus of responsibility in God.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the end of the question?
I can touch on that one. I don't know if I can just real quick, but I would just say that it seems like the problem is that on Calvinism, at least Calvinism, Paul Calvinism, is that God ordains whatsoever comes to pass. So C.S. Lewis's rejection of Calvinism, and A.W. Tozer's rejection of Calvinism, and Billy Graham's rejection of Calvinism, and a host of other theologians and pastors that we all know and love, and their rejection of Calvinism was ordained sovereignly by God. And that seems just intuitively very difficult to grasp, that God would somehow sovereignly ordain for some of his children not to just to not get it and not to accept what's true. And so that's where I would push back on something like that.
Cool. We got another question before we do. I just
Eric he threw him like an underhand, like he just like lobbed it, towards Joel, and then Joel kind of like, and then he swung, and then he eventually got there, and then Leighton just boom, just like see ya.